Good afternoon. It's Thursday, the 18th of February 2021, and I'm here outside the forecourts, and I just want to bring you a live update on the latest news on the Strokestown eviction. And just for those of you who are not familiar with the Strokestown eviction, in December 2018, the McGann family, Anthony, David and Geraldine, were evicted from their home by agents acting on behalf of KBC Bank. Now, some agents came down from Northern Ireland, and subsequently last year they received summonses for operating in the Republic of Ireland without a licence. But getting back to December 2018, as I say, the McGanns were evicted from their home. And then a week later, they managed to return to their home and they remained there. Then in October 2019, October 2019, Judge Allen issued an order for the family to vacate the property. And they didn't do that. They remained on in their home. And then in March 2020, the case came before Judge Leonie Reynolds. Geraldine and David and Anthony were given instructions by Judge Reynolds that they were to vacate their home. Then lockdown came and COVID and all of that. The family remained on in their home, and then in October 2020, that's last October, Geraldine, David and Anthony were arrested, and they were taken before Judge Reynolds, and to cut a very long story short, they gave an undertaking that they wouldn't return to their home. Geraldine, they were given a few hours to get their belongings. Geraldine and David got their belongings. Then in November, at the end of November 2020, Anthony McGann, Colm Granahan and retired Garda Kevin Taylor were arrested. They were arrested on charges of being in contempt of court by being present in the house. And there was actually the arrests were carried out on two separate days. Anthony and Kevin Taylor were arrested on the 25th of November, Wednesday the 25th of November, and Colm Granahan in a separate arrest on the 27th of November. So we had a situation then that all three were in Mountjoy jail on charge of being in contempt of court. Colm Granahan purged his contempt of court on the 23rd of December. The case then came before Judge Reynolds again in January, and then it was adjourned until today. And so I'm going to just give you an update on what happened in court today. It came before Judge Reynolds at 2:30 in courtroom number 15. Anthony McGann and Kevin Taylor appeared via video link from Mountjoy jail. Rossa Fanning, senior counsel, spoke on behalf of KBC Bank. Anthony McGann, in a very short hearing, said that he had a solicitor that was going to come on record. He did not purge his contempt of court today, and so he is remanded in custody. Then Kevin Taylor appeared via video link from Mountjoy jail, and he too did not purge his contempt of court. He did mention to Judge Reynolds, he did ask her a number of questions regarding folio numbers and court orders and so on, and she said the matter was very simple. He was incarcerated because he was in contempt of a court order. It was really that simple, and he would remain in jail until he purged his contempt of court. Then the matter now has been adjourned to Thursday, the 15th of April at 2 o'clock. So Anthony McGann and Kevin Taylor remain in Mountjoy jail, and they have been there since the end of November. Now, just my own opinion on the matter. And I'm not a legal person, and I've always said this. I come from this from my heart. And I suppose what really struck me today, I was kind of reminded of a chessboard with one side playing chess and the other playing drafts. Different games on the same board. And there is the law, which is one game, and there is justice, which is another game. And if I could just speak now about Kevin Taylor. Kevin Taylor is a retired Garda. He served his full term as a guard. He upheld the law of Ireland throughout his work as a guard. He has an exemplary record. He's now, I suppose, getting into advanced years. He's not in the best of health. I never knew Kevin until all of this happened, and I have come to know him since the eviction in December 2018, and I've had long chats with him. He is a deeply devout, spiritual man, very, very quiet, very, very reserved. I would even say very shy. And in his retirement, he has spent his time helping people. Now, he hasn't told me that, but numerous people have come to me to say how he has helped them. Simple matters like helping them to draft letters and legal letters and all of that kind of thing, and accompanying people to court that were lay litigants just to give them support. He could be spending his retirement playing golf and being out on his farm. I know that he has a little bit of land and he has horses, and he just loves the land, and he could spend his time living quietly. But he told me that this was a justice issue. And David McGann never took out, he's the oldest of the McGanns. He never had any truck with KBC Bank. He never took out any loan. He was actually born in that house, lived there all his life. And it is on public record that he is autistic and that he's in very poor health. And he was taken out of his home, dragged out of his home that morning in December 2018. I took the photographs a few days later when I met him. He was dragged across the tarmac yard. The jeans were torn, the knees were torn out of his jeans. His legs, his knees were all bloodied. Now, I did share those photographs because when I met him a few days later, he was literally still wearing the clothes that he had been wearing that morning when he was evicted. And Kevin Taylor was there that day as well, and he sustained injuries and had hospital treatment and dental treatment after that. And what Kevin has said to me, he says, you know, Anna, he says, this is a justice issue. He said, if somebody doesn't take a stand against what is actually happening in Ireland, that elderly people can be thrown out of their homes, out onto the middle of the road. If somebody doesn't take a stand on this issue, it's a justice issue. He said, where is it all going to end up? And that is where he's coming from. And I've learned this afternoon that there are 20 people summoned before Judge Reynolds in the morning. They have been ordered out of the apartments that they have been renting for a number of years. They are in contempt of court. There's a penal endorsement against them. And if they don't vacate those apartments, they are going to, they face the same fate as Anthony McGann and Kevin Taylor. They stand a high risk of being jailed. Now, what I've been told is that the landlord was in dispute with the bank, and the bank then sold the loan book over to a vulture fund. The vulture fund has, through the courts, gained ownership of the property. The tenants have been paying their rent to the landlord, and there's no place for them to go. Literally, we're in the middle of COVID. There's 2 children, 20 people and 2 children, and they're supposed to have vacated the apartments that they have been renting, and they haven't done so. So there's every chance now that they can be jailed. So I'm coming back up to Dublin in the morning, please God, to see what happens in court tomorrow. And the situation is, with lockdown, people are getting into difficulties with their loan repayments. And as Margaret Hanrahan said, on a live interview before Christmas, she said there's going to be a tsunami of evictions coming down the line in the new year. And I'm beginning to think that she's right. So where I'm coming from, and indeed I know from talking to Kevin, where we're coming from is it's a justice issue. Where is all this going to end? And, I read in the papers from time to time where people have managed to get write-downs from their property, 2 million written off a mortgage, 3 million written off. I even read in one particular case where 7 million was written off. And I'm just asking the question, why can't there be mediation in all of these cases? Why, people do take out loans, they do get into difficulties. Why can't there be mediation rather than court action? Because ultimately, the taxpayer is going to have to pay the price. If those 20 people are evicted tomorrow, there's no place for them to go to, and they'll probably end up, in emergency homeless accommodation, and the taxpayer is going to have to pick up the tab, and the vultures then can sail off into the sunset with the property. So that's just my thoughts on the issue. I want to thank you so much for watching. The fact that you are watching actually shows that you do actually care. What can we do about it? Well, at the moment, all we can do is just to make people aware of what is actually happening. There has to be some way around all of this. Do we want to wind the clock back to an Ireland of the 19th century where people were evicted and thrown out on the road? I mean, as Irish people, it's still at some level inscribed in our psyche what actually happened to our ancestors. We're now in 2021. Surely there is a better way of doing things rather than evicting people. And just before I go, the McGann's home in Falsk is now all boarded up. It's an old house. It's not of much value. What satisfaction is there to be gained from having that house, old house, all boarded up, nobody living in it, falling into dereliction, and the family then relying on the goodwill of neighbours to accommodate them? Thank you so much for watching, and if you can share this video purely to get word out there about what is actually happening, it would be absolutely great. Thank you for watching. Bannock they or if Galer.